Part 4 describes some of the primeval qualities of the religion of darkness, and the sanctity of the natural in the lunar theology. The scorpion was very likely held to be a sacred creature of nature, or nature. An early pre-dynastic king was called by this name. Please note the similarity between the horns of the sacred bull and the pincers and stinger of the scorpion. The horned god and the bull are deities, first worshipped, during the Stone Age, as the lord of the hunt.
Somewhere along the way, in the long night that was the Neolithic epoch, Set became more popular than his father Osiris. This most likely occurred a while after the discovery of agriculture, when the practice of hunting as a primary food source fell into decline. With hunting no longer as vital for survival as once it was, and agriculture more so, the cult of the Earth Mother and her daughter Isis experienced increased emphasis.
This Stone Age cave painting, from France, shows how ancient is the veneration of the horned god. Of mummy of a calf, an Egyptian form of the horned god. A sacred horn, held by a Stone Age goddess of the earth. This is a start of Phoenician fertility, goddess of the moon. And a modern statue of a Greek goddess, sitting atop a pantheon column.
Then it was that Set, the serpent god, had his greatest period of popular cult. Most likely, he was the new dying grain god, whose death and rebirth were seasonally linked with the harvest. For some reason, I suppose, this seasonal fertility aspect did not come to be a part of the horn god's periphery of attributes in Egypt. At least not so much as it was of Set's, or until much later. Instead, at this early pre-dynastic epoch, the earth goddess Hathor was immediately the divine entity responsible for the generation of crops. Her daughter Isis shared in this power of her divine mothers, and more so than her sister Nephthys.
A stela from Thebes, with a Phoenician fertility goddess top and Hathor at bottom. The Egyptians mummified sacred birds as well, an ibis mummy. Hathor was a goddess of music and cattle, note the harp and her horns. In ancient days, Nephthys was most probably a vulture, goddess of the air.
Nephthys, like her sister, represented death in life, but her divine totem, the vulture, was more a creature of the air, with no direct attachment to the black earth and soil of the Nile. The serpent, by contrast, was a creature who made its home in the soil and laid its eggs there. Then there was some species of snake who swam the life-giving waters as well. And there was also some very large reptilian snake-like creatures, that is, crocodiles, of whom her son Set was the patron deity.
Here is a crocodile, mummified in early days, one of Lord Set's sacred creatures. A clutch of snake eggs, many snakes lay their eggs in the soil.
Ooh!
Plover birds are companions of the Nile crocodile.
Ah!
Crocodile, Dundee, with a toothy carnivore. The mask of a mummified Nile crocodile. Pharaoh's scepter was fashioned after Lord Set.
So, it was most likely all these factors that made Isis a more popular goddess than her sister Nephthys. Nephthys, though, wasn't entirely to be forgotten or neglected because it was she, or a creature much like the vulture, who laid the golden egg of creation.
The bird goddess rising from the egg of creation. Bird goddess of death in life, slaying the sacrificial bull of the horned god. Libations of blood from horned animals, such as the bull, were used to nourish spirits of the dead and produce growth in the grain fields. This photo of bacteria reveals the beauty of nature's tiniest creatures. Egyptian vultures in a field.
We know this is so, and that Nephthys was originally a type of bird goddess, because it was Nephthys who guarded the egg in Heliopolis. Even though this, however, was most likely her mother, the earth goddess, in an earlier incarnation as vulture. Because it must be remembered that the Egyptians were very wise in this regard. They had their polytheistic multitude of various gods with their different powers, attributes, and sacred creatures, yet they also realized they were all only versions of the supreme god, or Neter, or nature.